Spaceflight Now membership, and to one of our wonderful moderators, Felicity Lee, for gifting 5 Spaceflight Now memberships. Thanks to you both. And welcome aboard to Doug Dewsbury, joining us at the pad leader level, along with Theodore Hiddleston. Appreciate you both joining with us. Welcome aboard, and we're glad to have you. And a thanks to Cynthia Graves for a $5 super chat as well. And as we're just under 9 minutes, we have 5 fees now brought in from SpaceX. Want to note, as we're now just about 8 minutes away from liftoff, that while things look a little socked in here in Vandenberg, do have word from SpaceX that the weather is green for launch. So while it may not be the most picturesque right here at the launch pad, things are good to support the flight of this Falcon 9 on this mission for the NRO. Taking a look at the breakdown of the Falcon 9 rocket here, so let's go ahead and take advantage of the SpaceX specs and talk about the vehicle. Of course, the top of the payload, or the top of the rocket, are the payload fairings, which encapsulate the unknown amount of satellites for the NRO. About 13.1 meters or 43 feet tall, 5.2 meters, 17.1 feet in diameter. That second stage powered by a single modified Merlin engine called a Merlin vacuum engine. Appreciate that assist. Producing more than 200,000 pounds of thrust. Speaking of engines, the engine chill down sequence on the 9 Merlin 1D engines is underway. Together they produce 1.7 million pounds of thrust, burn a combination of rocket-grade kerosene or RP1, as well as liquid oxygen. The booster that is flying today is going for its 8th flight, tail number 1081 in the SpaceX fleet. And while it is fairly young in the SpaceX fleet, considering they just achieved 22 flights with one of their boosters, this has flown a number of notable missions, including NASA and the SpaceX Crew 7 mission, spinning up a Crew Dragon spacecraft with a 4-person team up to the ISS and back again. Also launched a Cargo Dragon spacecraft. Taking a look at the drone ship here, Of Course I Still Love You. That'll be the drone ship that the booster will land on following stage separation. This will be the 95th landing on that particular drone ship, and combined with the other 2 in the SpaceX fleet, this will be the 255th drone ship booster landing today. Among the pedigree of this particular booster, in addition to those 2 Dragon flights, were 2 Starlink missions, Starlink 6-34, Starlink 8-1, a couple of Earth-observing satellites designed to monitor climate, NASA's PACE mission, which launched back on February 8th, and most recently, you see that EarthCare launched on behalf of the European Space Agency. And right in the middle was Transporter 10, a rideshare mission, launching back on March 4th. Just heard the call out for the strong back retract sequence starting. The clamp arms underneath the payload fairings will open up, and the transporter erector with a strong back will recline about 13 degrees away from the Falcon 9 rocket. It stays in that position until liftoff. You heard the call that Strongback retract now underway. Start to see some movement of that transporter erector now. Does a slightly back away from the rocket. Coming up on the 3-minute mark before liftoff. At this point, we're coming up on the conclusion of first stage liquid oxygen load. And just heard the call for that. The final fueling milestone will be the loading of liquid oxygen on board the second stage, which will wrap up at about the 2-minute mark before liftoff. As we're cruising on into the last couple of minutes here, I want to thank a few more folks for your support. While we still have a little bit of time, our thanks to that Opal guy for being a channel member for 5 months. Appreciate you sticking with us, Opal guy. Saying best launch coverage on the planet. Oh, that's very kind. Things leaving the planet. Thanks, Will and Spaceflight Now team. Well, thank you, that Opal guy. That's very kind of you to say. I want to welcome Richard W. to channel membership at the mission specialist level. Welcome, or appreciate you upgrading there, Richard. Terry Darrow with a $2 super chat saying, let's get it, baby. Appreciate you, Terry. Lucinda Miles with a $10 super chat. Thank you, Lucinda. Appreciate your support. And another $2 super chat. You have a call from SpaceX that second stage lock load is complete, at which point now the Falcon 9 is fully loaded with 1 million pounds propellant. Now less than a minute and a half away. What you're seeing here are the ground gas closeouts. Onboard flight computers are preparing to take control of the Falcon 9 rocket, coming up in about 10 seconds. One minute. Coming up, we'll hear the launch director give their go for launch.
LD is go for launch.
And there you heard the...
And that was the final go for launch, so we're now just about 30 seconds away from the liftoff of the NROL 186 mission. Less than 30 seconds to go. Let's go ahead and listen in to the final seconds of the count, and we'll be back with you on the other side for more commentary.
T-minus 15 seconds. T-minus 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Ignition. And liftoff from 9, so SpaceX, go NROL 186.
Vehicle switching down range.
Stage 1 turbo pressure on.
T plus 30 seconds. Flight has successfully lifted off from Slip 4 East at Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. Coming up next, the vehicle will be passing through Max Q, which is the limited mission for the propulsion vehicle to experience the highest level of aerodynamics.
There it is. I see it.
Boosters reaching altitude now of 116 kilometers. Likely approaching or may have just now reached. Oh, it's still climbing. This is generally speaking about the apogee of a first stage booster. If you did have good views of the Falcon 9 rocket as its climb up, you have a photo or video, be sure to tag us on X. Love to see what you were able to capture tonight. And we're not too far away from sunset there in California, so likely some more stunning views if the conditions were right. Now coming up on 5 minutes into flight, the next milestone that we're anticipating is the start of that first stage entry burn. That comes up at about T plus 6 minutes and 8 seconds. That entry burn will see the first stage booster ignite 3 of the 9 Merlin 1D engines to begin to slow the vehicle down, in addition to some assistance from atmospheric drag, dropping the speedometer that you see there in the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. You'll note that in addition to not getting any upper stage views, SpaceX is also not providing any telemetry data from the Falcon 9 second stage. Now, a little more than 6 minutes into flight, we're less than 10 seconds away from the start of that entry burn. A little bit of actuation from those hypersonic grid fins. Start of that entry burn now beginning. This burn lasts about 20 seconds. Conclusion of that entry burn. Coming up the next milestone, we're anticipating it's coming up at T plus 7 minutes 51 seconds, the start of that landing burn. Good call for both booster and upper stage following nominal trajectories. Booster comes through some clouds there. You can see the speedometer continue to plummet dramatically. A little more than 7 minutes into flight. Less than 50 seconds away from that first stage landing burn beginning. Falcon 9 now transonic, traveling below the speed of sound. Wow. 10 seconds from the start of that landing burn. There's the start of the landing burn. Should see some views of the drone ship coming up momentarily. Wow. There go the landing legs. And by audio, we've got a confirmation of the stage 1 landing. Now we've got a good visual as well. This booster completing its 8th launch and landing. This was the 255th drone ship landing of a booster and the 322nd booster landing. Taking a live look inside of the control room there at Hawthorne, California. SpaceX about to peel away from these views from inside Hawthorne. The next milestones, though, for the mission, even though they're going to peel away from our live views of it, be the second stage engine cutoff, or SECO 1. That happened at about T plus 8 minutes 39 seconds. There will be reportedly a second burn of that Merlin vacuum engine coming up at T plus 53 minutes 13 seconds. That's a brief 2-second burn, setting up the deployment of the unknown number of satellites that make up the NROL 186 mission, deploying at an unknown time because it's one of the many things the NRO keeps very much under its hat.